Hey everybody, this is DD Blue Zero. I've really been wanting to do a stream of CDDA. CDDA is Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead, and it is one of my favorite games of all time. Once I started kind of understanding how the game works and how deep it is, it made it into my top five like of all time, next to things like Dwarf Fortress and NetHack. So if you like uh, old school roguelikes, then this is definitely for you. And also, I find that lately, I don't know about you guys, but I find that lately it's difficult for me to kind of get satisfaction from games that are only out for a year or two, meant to make back the money that was spent making them, and just be done. So I've been on a kick where I'm looking for games that are, you know, years in development, that are just like living and evolving all the time. And this is definitely that. So I'm going to go ahead and get started because I don't think you want to hear my nonsense. But basically, this is just my take on a beginner, kind of a how to play CDDA. I am a noob for sure. I feel like I've played enough times that I have kind of a handle on the basic controls, so I'm going to describe what I do as I'm doing it. And if you want a real tutorial, go watch Icon, IC0N, on YouTube. That guy is the guy who taught me. Basically, his videos gave me what I needed to be able to play. But if you watch those videos already and you want to see another take, or you just want to see, some low-level exploration and stuff, then please feel free to continue watching. I do the permadeath, so when I'm dead, I'm dead. Games can be short or long, depending on how lucky I get. So yeah, I'm just gonna go for it. Let's get started. Okay, so we'll start with character creation. Yeah, full disclosure, everybody, I am legally blind, so I have kind of set my Cataclysm up to, I don't really use a mini map. I kind of cut out things that I don't necessarily find useful for me as a low vision player. If you ever want to know anything about my settings, please let me know. I honestly don't remember how I did it. Well, you know what? I'll show you right now for my interface, just so you can kind of see what my settings are. So here they are for your reference. If you like what you see, if you're a low vision player and you feel my UI works for you, then here it is. And I know I haven't started yet, but you can always come back to this if you decide, hey, that's actually not half bad, because this works pretty well for me. All right, let's get down to business. I'm going to just start with a new game. I've already created a world. I'm not going to go over world creation. Basically, you can go to world, push enter, and then you can kind of create a world. I just did that. It basically is like how close are the cities together and how populated with zombies. I kind of use mostly just default settings. So, all right. So I'm going to push tab, 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 tab to navigate through my menus until we get to new game. I'm just coming off of a very successful game where I died suddenly, and I'm still a little bit salty about that. So I'm going to try not to think about that. So when you push enter on new game, you get these options: custom characters, preset, random, play now, fixed scenarios. I always do the same thing, so that's what I'm going to cover now because it's what I know and what I like. I'm going to do custom character. So I can select it, or I can just push Shift C, because as you can see, the first letter of the menu item is glowing. It's kind of white. That lets you know, hey, you can just shortcut right to that. So I'm going to go ahead and push capital C. Now we're at the loading screen. Now I just load all the default stuff. I like vanilla. I'm also playing on the stable branch because I just want, what the game was intended to be, what the developer has decided, hey, this is the official game. I don't necessarily have to be on the bleeding edge of experimental, although it seems like a lot's going on over there, so I kind of do peek in to see what they're doing. All right, first choice. You have multiple pools, single pool, or freeform. The way I understood it was you have two separate pools for your skills and your traits, or not two separate. You have separate pools for everything, like a different amount of points you can use. 8 points for skills, 8 points for this, 8 points for that. I don't do that. I love highly customizing my character, but that's just still a bit much for me. So I tend to go with the single pool. I'm going to push the down arrow and then enter. This just gives you a set number of points, and you will be able to spend those across the upcoming tabs. And then there's freeform, where you just kind of go nuts. I don't do that because I like the game to be played as what I believe it's intended. So I'm going to go with single pool for simplicity's sake. So I get points, 8 points. Yeah, so I get 8 points, and I'm ready to go on to the next menu. That decision is made. So I will press tab. And now we're on the scenario menu. There are a bunch of awesome scenarios. Man, you know, when you get the hang of it, you're ready for more challenge. You can pick one of these. They're basically the situation in which your character starts their apocalyptic adventure. I'm kind of boring and find that I don't survive very long if I don't pick Evacuee. Evacuee is just, you're lucky. You survive. There's panic. You're in a shelter, an evacuation shelter, and you're safe for now in the shelter. Where do you go from here? What do you do next? You kind of start off in a calm place with a little bit of equipment. I know it is essentially the easy mode, and I feel like at the beginning, you know, we don't really have a ton of choice because it's just very difficult. There is a high barrier to entry even in this mode. So I'm going to go ahead and go with this. You can explore these on your own. It's a lot of fun to read about the different scenarios. So I'm going to, it's highlighted in green, so I don't have to push anything other than tab to just skip along to the next thing. Oh, I also would like to point out each thing will each scenario, depending on if it's harder or easier, will give you more points or take away your points. See how I started with 8 points left? A hard scenario might give me more points to spend in the tabs that we're about to go to. But I'm good with this. So I'm going to keep this and push tab. Profession. Well, it says profession, but you're not really picking your job. You're kind of picking what kind of person you are, what defines you. That's kind of sad because there are some pretty stuff like, I don't know, crackhead. I guess you could be defined as a crackhead. But basically, you go down these lists and you get to read the flavor text at the bottom. Like, for example, for Tweaker, you're not entirely sure what happened last night, but you woke up on the floor and everything has gone completely to shit. The only thing running through your head, though, is where you're going to find your next hit. It allows you some role-playing if that's what you're into. I personally, I do like the idea of role-playing, but because I'm not going to metagame, I don't know anything. Like, I don't know a ton about how to get to the end game. I don't even know what the object of the game is. I heard it's just survive and make your own object. So you can basically pick what kind of person you are. Survivor is probably the easy mode. It is the answer to the Evacuee. So inside of having, survived the wave and being in a shelter, Survivor you just happen to be a survivor. There's nothing notable about you. You're alive and that's it. The cool thing about Survivor is it's kind of an easy mode because you don't have any negative traits and you start with a bag. As you can see here, there's a messenger bag. That's way more important than I would have given it credit for a few weeks ago. Because it's easy, it adds 0 points to your situation. So you're still stuck with your 8. So I personally like a little bit of challenge, but I'm still a big wuss, so I don't go too hard. So I like to go for Chain Smoker, which I scroll down with the down arrow and push enter to select it. Now it is highlighted. Chain Smoker is basically just a regular dude who's really, really addicted to cigarettes. So I'll go ahead and read it. Your coworkers always muttered when you had to duck outside every hour for a smoke, but it ended up saving your life when things got bad. Now you're down to your last pack. You start off with a strong nicotine addiction. So basically, this is similar to Survivor. It's not that much harder, but you do get basically cravings for nicotine, which can sometimes lead to fatigue and other things that may slow you down. So I choose this because I tend to get off to a slow start anyway. So I'll spend a lot of time just poking around wherever we start. And if you can just tough it out, you can get over the nicotine addiction. Or, you can smoke some of your cigarettes and maybe you try to keep it alive. It's really up to you. I like to just bust through it. And it earns you 1 point. Not a ton, but hey, that's all the risk and danger I'm willing to take on. The other noticeable thing about this, the other notable thing is that you do not get a bag or a messenger bag or backpack or anything. So whatever you can squeeze into your jean pockets and whatever you can hold in your hands, that's all you get. So that is part of what makes it a challenge, in my opinion. So I'm going to go with this. It's already highlighted. The decision is made, so I can push tab and move on to the next tab. Next, we have our stats. There's probably more to it, but basically your strength will affect your base hit points and how much you can carry and your bash damage. And as it says here, it makes you more resistant to diseases and poisons and actions that require brute force, of which there are a lot. If there's a locked door, you need to smash it. If there's a wood chair, you want to break it down for firewood or something, you need strength. That factors in. So I believe strength is the most important stat. So I will always raise it to 10. And you'll see that raising it to 10 raised my base hit points, raised my carry weight, and my bash damage. I believe dexterity is important as well because, I'm an old schooler. I played a lot of NetHack, maybe a little ADOM. And one of the things I enjoyed about those is the more you kill, the stronger you get. Now, because this game does not have an experience system like that, you can kind of kill a lot and it doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to be any better. You don't level up or anything like that. You can level certain skills, I guess, by using them, Ultima Online style. Anyway, I got off on a tangent. The point is, I do still like to try to kill zombies. There is a finite number of zombies in the world, so you could technically kill them all eventually. So I like that idea. That's something to aspire to. So I think melee to hit bonus and throwing, I think that's important. So, and it also enhances many actions which require finesse. I don't know what that means yet, but I always add 2 points because to me it's important. I don't really use guns. I've never had the luck of finding any guns other than maybe the occasional straggling gun that has 2 shots in it or 1 shot in it. I tend to go melee. So, intelligence. I used to think it was important. It makes you read faster. Your skills don't go down as fast. Skills are the closest thing you get to tangible improvements in character. You read books, usually, or maybe you do things. You read books and you become better at cooking or better at shooting or better at putting things together. So books will give you recipes, but they'll also raise your skills, and your intelligence will determine how quickly you can read and what you can learn. I have found most books in people's houses and such require maybe an intellect of 5. I personally like to play a quote-unquote smart character, so I just leave it at 8. That's totally fine by me. Perception. Now, this might be partially because I'm blind myself in real life, but I don't really value this a ton. I don't need to see zombies everywhere. It stresses me out. In real life, I wouldn't be able to see them that far away anyway. So it's used for traps and such. I just leave it the way it is. I don't shoot a ton, so I don't need a strong aiming bonus. So I'm going to go with this. You do you. Do what's best for you. So you can push up and down to select your stat, and then left and right to add or subtract. Right will add, left will subtract. And when you're done, as usual, push tab. Next, we have our traits. Now, on the left here, you have your traits that are positive, things that will help you on your adventure. And then over here, push the right arrow. These are things that are negative. It's a lot like Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition, if you've ever played that. You can kind of pick things that will hurt your character and they will give you more points to spend in other areas. And then on the third, you have just your cosmetic stuff, which, I mean, it's cool, but I haven't really seen it factor into the game ever. I will give myself a beard, though, because why not? So there's a bunch of these, and they really allow you to kind of customize your character, which I love. You know, they all have their own benefits, but I tend to go with fast healer because you heal quicker. Because like I said, I like the idea, for me, my role playing, I like the idea of killing all of the zombies and having just a peaceful world to live in. So you kill a zombie, they hurt you obviously, then you rest and you got to heal. And this allows you to heal just a little bit faster. Now each of these good traits have a point cost. This costs 2 points. I am good with that, so I'm going to push enter. And now it's highlighted. Now I'm down to 3 points left. Again, you really should look at these and kind of pick what works best for you. I personally like fast healer, and I'm a fan of melee weapons training. I like the old school sword and shield. I like to pretend I'm fighting in a dungeon. So melee weapons training means you have practiced with fighting weapons, and you basically get to pick a fighting style, which we'll get into later. But for now, it basically lets you be trained in a fighting style. So I pushed enter because I want that. Now I'm out of points. That was it. That cost 3. The other fast healer cost 2. I'm done. I have no more points. And I'm not going to take any disadvantages because, gosh, there's just, I don't know. Sometimes I'll take some, but right now this setup works for me. So I'm just going to go with what I have. Next, you push tab again and you go to the skills tab. Now here you can raise all of these skills in the game by reading books or actually doing the actions. This just lets you get a head start. Personally, since I don't believe stats go up naturally, I think they're kind of set in this screen and they don't change. I feel like points are far more valuable to use on those, since technically you could get lucky and find books to teach you all this stuff. So I tend to skip these things. So I'm going to go ahead and push tab again. So here we do the final bit of character creation. You can push up and down to highlight the various things, and then push enter when you want to edit it. So I'm going to go with DD Blue 11, or I think 12. That's kind of a running joke. I started with 0. So DD Blue 12 will be my name. You can pick your gender. You can push left or right, and it will pick your gender. I'm going to leave it on male. Height, I push down again, and now I'm on height. I can push enter and pick your height in centimeters. I just happen to know that mine is 184, so I'm going to change it to match my real height. Age, 25 is the default. I make it older because I'm older. Depending on how I feel, I'll make it my real age or I'll make it younger than me. Today, let's go with 35. And I don't change blood type because I don't think that necessarily matters. And you can see the summary, your stats, your traits, and everything else. Starting location is going to be random. So we chose an evacuation shelter back when we chose our scenario. And if you wanted to see that, you could push Shift Tab because it goes backwards. So you can see we picked evacuee. So we're going to start in an evacuation shelter. I'm going to push Tab again to get back up to where we are. But there are 3 random variations of the shelter that you'll start in. You don't know which one it is, but you'll just start in one. You don't start with a car, but you do start with an addiction in our case because we chose smoker. So you'll have nicotine withdrawal. I don't know exactly what that does. I just know that it's generally negative. There's fatigue and stress and low morale just right out of the gate. And that's okay because it'll pass. So we're good. So this is all great. I'm ready to go. I'm going to push tab and it's going to ask me if I'm sure I'm finished. I have the option of pushing left, right to highlight, or because the first letter again is highlighted already with the Y, I can push Shift Y. So I'm going to push Shift Y and here we are. Now because we chose melee, we get to pick a style and there's some cool ones. I pick Eskrima because that's what I've always used. I have messed around a little bit with Silat. Honestly, I couldn't tell the difference. You get a metal stick and you hit. Honestly, in the end, the most successful game I ever had was not using melee styles at all. I found a wood cutting axe, and that just got me farther than anything. But, you know, we picked it. So I'm going to go with the Screma. It lets you use just improvised stuff. So we'll go from there. I'm going to push enter. Yes. I highlighted it with, I pushed left to highlight, and I'm going to push enter. Now, here we are. This is the inside of the evacuation shelter. I can move around by using the numpad on my keyboard. I'm sure there are other ways if you don't have a full-size keyboard, but for now, I'm using it to just kind of get the general layout of the shelter. It's always a little bit different each time you play, so I never quite know. Now keep this in mind, something that I don't think is obvious to some people. If you move on to something, like a bench, for example, like this, you'll notice in the lower right it says moving onto this bench is slow. So while you can just like move around as you like, and you'll, you know, on top of furniture or whatever, keep in mind every time you move on top of furniture, your character is literally climbing on top of it and walking on top of it. So just gonna continue walking. All right, so here's our evac shelter. Lot going on. So you'll notice we're basically looking at a dual color setup. That means it is dark. We don't have any light. We don't, it's just a way of letting us know. It's kind of like a fog of war in a way. So it's 8:01 a.m. Why is it dark? Well, if you'll notice, I'm going to zoom in. There are curtains here and in various places around here. So the curtains are closed. If I were to push O to open them, it will open the curtains. Like so. Ah, color. So now we can see everything that's going on outside, and we can kind of see where the light is hitting inside. You'll see it kind of filters through the window in like a kind of a funnel shape. So the issue here is when you open the window, if a zombie happens to be passing by, it can see your movement. If a zombie can see your movement, of course, it will be drawn to you. So as annoying as it is, it's probably better to keep these closed. Now, you'll also notice there's a dude here. This person is just a random NPC that spawns with you. Sometimes they have quests for you. Sometimes they'll come with you and help you. Honestly, I find that if you can get them to join you, it can drastically change your adventure because they're usually very strong, and having another person is just wildly changes the balance. So for now, I'm not going to talk to that person. I'm just going to walk around using the numpad. When I say numpad, I'm using 2 to go down, 8 to go up, 6, 4, just the directional keys. And yes, you can move diagonally. So what do we have? Well, we got a computer. You might be tempted to use the computer. Well, you can basically use anything. If you push E, it will automatically examine whatever's closest to you. And it's kind of like the smart option. You push E, it'll do whatever the thing that you should be able to do is. If it's water, it'll ask you if you want to drink. If it's a computer like this, it'll automatically use it. So here we have logging into the Evac Shelter. Press any key. So we have 3 options. The emergency message, we can disable external power, or the contact us. Well, the emergency message. Kind of scary. Do not panic. Remain inside. It's just a general emergency message. It doesn't really do anything. It's kind of just flavor text. Disabling external power has literally never worked. We don't have power, so I don't know. Maybe there's something more to that, but it's never worked for me. Now, contact us is the one you would be least likely to select if you're me, but actually selecting it gives you the address of another office, which will open that on your map, which brings me to the map. So I'm going to push M for map. Now don't be scared. I know there's a lot of text and symbols, and if you're not a net hacker or a dwarf fortresser, this kind of layout can be very intimidating. Now there are tile sets that you can use to make this tiled and pretty. I couldn't figure out how to do it on my version. Maybe in the experimental versions you can, but on stable there was no default tile set installed. but that's okay because you get used to it quick. So I'll just explain real quick. Basically, where the screen is focused and you can see a square blinking, that's me. That's where I am. I am the @ sign. Now, I can move the square with the numpad the same way I would move inside of the evacuation shelter. And every time you move in the upper right-hand corner, it tells you what you're looking at. So if you don't know what the symbols are, you move around to find out what they are. Like, for example, right now, there's a gray line that's coming out of where I am, and it's going up here. So looking at the gray line is just a road. And it tells you how far you are from that road. So I've kind of come to learn what all these look like. I feel like I'm in the Matrix where you're like, I don't even see code. I just see blonde or brunette. But let's look at some of these symbols. So clearly there's a lot going on up here. As you can see, there's a bunch of symbols. Now down here, you could probably guess not much going on. As you might have kind of guessed, the big F is just a forest. So this is just forest all down here. And this is swamp. Basically, see how it's kind of blue? So it's like forest but with water, so swamp. So this is all nature stuff. There's no civilization out here. And of course, these pound signs, or all you young kids out there, hashtags, they are basically, that's fog of war. It's areas you don't know what's beyond that point. Now, why can I see down this road and see what's over here? Well, geez, oh Pete, why can't I see so far? I think, boy, I don't know. I think it's because of the computer we opened and looked at where the other place was. I think that's why that's unlocked, because usually when I play, it's just this circle. Now, as you move, the circle will move with you, and you will remember where stuff is. So let's look at some symbols here. A lot going on up here. So what are we seeing? Well, we got these green greater than less than signs. What are they? They're houses. And the direction that they are pointed, if you think of it like an arrow, that's the front. So this house, for example, is facing the road to the right over there. And then this house is facing the other house, also facing the road. So these are houses. That's great if we need to get books to basically level up some skills, maybe get a better weapon than the nothing we have now. But what is this A? A public art piece. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm relatively familiar with some of these, but even I haven't memorized them all. Like, I don't know what a golden dollar sign is. So it's kind of fun to just look around and see what they say. A dollar store. Literally the first time I've ever seen that, which is another awesome thing about this game. Like, there's everything. There's vet clinics, dollar stores, whatever. Super cool. And then what do we have here? Well, we got a farmhouse and fields around the farmhouse. I don't even know what M is. Let's find that out. A mansion. I've never seen that before. That's really cool. And so if you have enough of a city discovered, the name will just appear above it. So we're near the city Sabatis. If you don't have enough discovered, you won't see that label. So cool. All right. Well, what do we got? Well, just like Minecraft, oh no, I guess Minecraft changed it, but just like NetHack or a lot of other games, you can push I, and you can see what's in your inventory. So what do we got? Well, we got a cell phone, a lighter, cigarettes. So actually, I should take a moment to explain this. We have a pack of cigarettes. Inside of the cigarettes, there are 20. Inside of the pack, there are 20 cigarettes. So as you see how, and also, so it's kind of difficult to explain, but it's really neat once you get the hang of it. If you look at the pack of cigarettes, an arrow appears next to cigarettes 20. That means there are 20 cigarettes inside of the pack. And also, there's an arrow that appears near pants that says 3 items. That means this pack of cigarettes is currently in your pants pocket. Now, I don't know if you can specifically put things into other things. I guess you probably can with load and unload and stuff like that. But basically, this is kind of automated. each piece of clothing or backpack has a certain number of like spaces you can put stuff in it, and it will automatically just kind of get sorted out as you pick things up. Cell phone, you might think, neat. What can you do with that? To find out what you can do with anything, you push enter on it, and then you get a list. Basically, activating is just use. So the default use for the cell phone is just to give you light. It works as a flashlight in a dark area, and not much. You can't see far away. It basically just gives you a little bit of light to do something in your immediate area, like read a book or, bandage a wound. I'm not going to give too many spoilers, but I am going to explain like beginner mechanics. After you push I to show your inventory, you have all of the different items, and then you can push enter on them, and you'll get this general info like you see on the left side of the screen. My camera is blocking it, isn't it? Yes, it is. Let me move my camera. You can kind of see on the left side, it gives you a lot of general information, a description, an older cousin of a smartphone. Basically, you can read everything you need to know here. There's a lot of info. Honestly, you feel free to read it all. I honestly don't have a use for all of it. Maybe because I'm not that advanced yet. But so that's what you get under the general menu. You can activate it, which would in this case mean turning the light on. You can wield it if you want to use it as a weapon or prepare to throw it. You can just skip right to throwing it. I don't know what changing sides is. I think that's something for like watches and bracelets and such. You can drop it. Unload it would mean you would take the battery out of it. Reload it would mean put a new battery in it. I'm not sure about part reload. And disassembling is, of course, taking it apart, etc. So I'm going to push escape. Whenever you want to get out of a menu, you push escape. We have a lighter, much the same way. Enter, same list. Same, kind of description. Obviously, activating it would, get you a flame. Or activating your cigarettes would get you to smoke a cigarette. So that's basically like the foundation of it all. Then you're looking at items worn. Now, what kind of menu do you get when you target one of these? Well, let's find out. Same menu. But in this case, you're basically only going to really need to take things off or wear them. Keep in mind each one has different stats on the left here. You can see it. Protection 0.2, 0.2, 0.2 in our case against bash and cut and ballistics. There's also warmth, 5. Warmth is actually quite important. If it's a cold season or area, you want to be very warm. However, if it's summertime and you're too warm, you'll literally take damage over it. So beware, because that's happened to me as well. I wore ski pants, cargo pants, jeans. I wore like 4 pairs of pants all on top of each other in a really hot day, and I burned myself. So keep that in mind. All right, that's enough of blabbering. Let's move around. So since it's dark, you can only see things when you get really close to them. As you can see, icons keep appearing and disappearing depending on how close you are to them. If you want to see what's over there, you can push G. If something of interest is there and you push G, it'll automatically show you what's there. If there are multiple items, let me see if I can, multiple, then you push G, it'll ask you to pick a direction. And then on your numpad, you just push the corresponding direction as though you wanted to walk in that direction. So I'm going to push 7 to see what this thing is. Fold-in emergency blankets, 8 of them. Cool. I don't need that right now, so I'm going to push escape to close the menu. What is this now? A folded emergency blanket, more folded emergency blankets, and 5 emergency jackets. Okay, cool. Well, let's push I again. I'm not wearing a jacket. A jacket sounds good. Whether it's hot or cold, either way, you still want protection if you're going to have zombies. If you're going to have zombies scratching at you and biting at you. So I'm going to go ahead and pick one of these up. So I'm going to push G again. Well, where do I want to look? I want to look here. So I pushed 4 on the numpad. Okay, we have 5 emergency jackets. I don't need 5 emergency jackets. I just need 1. If you want to pick up one of these things, you can just push the corresponding letter. See how there's a letter A, B? If I push A and B, the minuses turn to pluses. That means I'm going to pick up those items. But in this case, that would mean I'd pick up 7 emergency blankets and 5 emergency jackets, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to push A and B again. That means I'm not going to pick up anything. And instead of pushing the corresponding letter to pick up all of the items on that line, I'm going to push a number. So I'm going to push the number 1, which you'll see it doesn't look like it did anything, but now I'm going to push the corresponding number. Or I'm sorry, the corresponding letter, B. So I push 1B. That means I'm going to pick up 1 item of item B. So that means I'm going to pick up 1 emergency jacket. Okay, we've entered our commands. We're going to pick up 1 emergency jacket and nothing else. So I can push enter, and that will be handled. Well, remember what we said at the very beginning about not having a bag? So basically it's whatever I can stuff into my jeans or whatever I can hold in my hands. Well, a jacket won't fit in my pocket, so I either got to hold it in my hand or I'm going to wear it. And I think I'm going to just go ahead and wear it. So again, as with every menu, you can push up and down to highlight the thing you want and push enter on it. Or you can type in the letter that's shown here, little w or big W. I'm going to, in this case, I'm going to just highlight it and push enter. And confirm in the lower right. What does it say? You put on your emergency jacket. Great. You'll notice you see you lost the conduct nudist. So if you play NetHack, you'll understand this right away. It's almost like if you play a game with trophies on a PlayStation or achievements on Xbox, where you can do certain things in game and you'll get various trophies if you beat the game, or when the game is done, or when you die, or whatever. This is a little different. You kind of start with all of the trophies, almost. Like, you're a vegan, or you are a nudist, or you're illiterate. You start with with a lot of those until you do an action that takes them away. In this case, I can't keep the nudist achievement because I just put on a jacket. So when you die, it'll tell you the details of what you got, what you didn't get, what else there is, how you get it. So don't be alarmed. It doesn't really mean anything until you get more advanced and you're trying to be fancy about it. Okay, push I. I am indeed wearing my emergency jacket. Now I could wear another one, but I'm not going to. Instead, I'm curious what this little item is below the jacket. So I'm going to push G and then the number 1. There's a scrub brush and a cardboard box of detergent. Well, I can't use that right now, so I'm going to push escape. I'm going to kind of walk around. And I'm going to push G, scrub brush, more detergent. And G here, fire extinguisher, first aid kit. Now, I would love a first aid kit. But again, what am I going to do? Just hold it and walk around with it? Well, maybe. That's one decision you can make. I'll think about that later. Now, let's head downstairs. So to go downstairs, you need to push greater than or less than. Less than, that looks like the arrow is pointing to the left. That goes upstairs. Greater than, that's the one the arrow looks like it's pointing to the right, makes you go downstairs. So that's basically how you change Z levels in this game. I'm going to push greater than, so I'm going to hold down Shift. And on my keyboard it's period, but I have a Japanese keyboard. Yours may be different, but here we go. Okay, we are now underground, in a basement, I guess. Again, dark. So I'm going to do the same thing I did upstairs. I'm going to use the numpad to walk around. Walk around, see what's going on. Okay, this is all there is. So, I want to open this door. 2 ways to do that. You can either step on top of it. So in this case, I would push the number 6 on my numpad, and it'll automatically open it if it's openable. If it's locked, you'll get a different message. So that works, and I can walk through. Or, in this one, instead of walking on top of it, I'm going to push O for open, and it will automatically open the thing closest to me that can be opened. If there's multiple options, for example, if I push O here, either one of these doors would be in reach. It'll give you the selection menu, just like it does when you push G when there are multiple points of interest. And then you just push the corresponding number pad number. But since I don't really want to open any of these doors, I'm just going to push escape. And I'm going to see what's in these bathrooms. See what's in these rooms. Looks like it's a bathroom. So I'm going to push G. Okay, we have 4 points of interest. Now, I'm going to start with the upper left. So I'm going to push the number 7. So that's weird. I pushed 7, nothing happened. Why? Well, that's because it's just toilet water. There's just water. There's nothing I can grab, so it just disappears. If you want to grab it, you can push E. Remember, we talked about E being the button that you push to take like the most logical action. So I'm going to push E. Of course, there's points of interest, but I'm going to push the toilet. And now I have 3 options. So it asks you, these are the 3 most basically normal things you would want to do. Which of these things would you want to do? The things that the game assumes are most likely what you would want to do. You can consume the toilet water. And I can, again, push either E, C, or G to do any one of these. Or push up or down to highlight them. C to pour into a container. If you have one, you could pour toilet water in the container. Or G, you can pour it on the ground. You know, one thing this game has taught me is that toilet water is a boon in the apocalypse, but not as is. You have to be prepared to boil it. We're not going to mess with that right now. We're going to push escape. And that's it. Well, I think we know what the other toilet is. Yep, just water. Moving down, let's try the lower left. What do we got? A scrub brush, a hand mirror, a soap bar, and paper. Okay, nothing immediately useful. I'm going to push escape. G again for the lower right. Scrub brush, soap bar, paper. So not the most interesting bathroom, but pretty darn standard. Okay. Now, I'm going to get out of here. But I don't remember if I mentioned it or not, so I'm going to mention it again just in case. If you push semicolon, you get this cursor. And this cursor will tell you, just similar to how it works on the map, when you're using the map and you move the square cursor around it, it'll tell you what's on each square you're highlighting. That will do the same here. So, for example, you can see we have the toilet. There's move costs that tell how much time it would take to climb on top of the thing. So as you can see here, we have the sink. It's on top of linoleum tile. And then here we have a trash can. Even though you couldn't really interact with it before, you can see that that's what it is. You could put things in it. You could even move it around. Okay, so nothing of interest here right now. I'm going to leave. And because I wasn't born in a barn, I'm going to push C for close to close the door behind me. Now again, since this is just dual color, you can see that there's like no light in here. It's basically pitch dark, and we only see what we can basically feel around or see what's immediately in front of us. I'm going to go ahead and open this door by walking into it. Oh, it was already open, sorry. I'm going to keep walking. Now, I could push G and check one by one each of these points of interest in here. I'll push G just to see. Okay, so there's 4, just like there was before. But there's also another way to do it. If you want to check multiple points of interest all at the same time, you can push /. / will open them all. So let's push / and see what happens. Okay, so this is every item that's in every point of interest that is within range of me right now. So remember we pushed G, and it had highlights of these 4. If I push /, that means it's opened all 4 of these at the same time. Now, you might wonder, why wouldn't you just do that all the time? Yeah, you can, actually. And when you do, well, it depends on how, if there's a bunch of items in each point of interest, then it can get a little overwhelming. Sometimes it's nice to go one at a time. But now you can do this if you really want. So we can scroll with up and down. And if you want something, Instead, you see how there's no corresponding letters this time. Usually there's letters, and that's how you can kind of choose what you want to take and what you want to leave. Now there's not. So you would push enter and take one item at a time. So I could highlight with up and down, highlight the jug of ammonia, push enter, and normally you would pick it up. But I have nowhere to store a gallon jug of ammonia, so that doesn't really work. And I don't really want to take a soap bar right now. So I'm going to push escape. And I'm going to keep going. So, darn, I was kind of hoping for a first aid kit. There isn't. I'm going to push C again to close this door. I'm going to walk into this door, like just walk, like I'm going to walk right through it. What the crap? Okay, I opened it, but I guess I couldn't. It was so dark that I could not see that it was open. So this is like just a wooden bench. And yes, I am walking on top of the bench because I want to be able to see the wall because I'm just, I don't know, OCD that way. Hey, here's something on the ground. Let's push G. 3 wrappers, protein ration. So some people can get confused when they see certain items like this. It says wrappers and assume it's garbage. But as you can see, there's the arrow or the greater than sign that shows you inside of the wrapper is a protein ration. So there's 3 of those. Honestly, I would like to take them all, but I don't know if I can carry it. So I'm going to push the number 1. Remember, we talked about that. You push 1, and then you push A, because A is the corresponding letter. That means you're going to take 1. Okay, all of my decisions are made. I'm going to push enter to execute them. And now I have 1 protein ration. Cool. There's a trash can. Now, if you remember in the bathroom, the trash can didn't have anything in it, so it didn't show up as a point of interest. You never know, this one might. So I'm going to push G just to make sure. Nothing. Okay, guess it's an empty waste basket. That's okay. Let's keep exploring the room. Okay, now we have an empty room. Now we see the layout. Cool. I'm going to close this door. Boy, that really drives me crazy that I can't see the door, but okay. Actually, you know, that ear mark that kind of pops up, that just means you heard a noise. Now, most of the time that's going to be zombies, monsters, whatever. But once in a while it can be yourself when things are really dark. All right, I think we've explored the evacuation shelter fairly well. There is one other door here. I'm going to walk into it by pushing 6 on the numpad. What the heck? Didn't open. The door is locked. Okay, well, what can we do about a locked door? Well, there is a lock-picking system, but I have never done it. I played NetHack. In NetHack and in ADOM, you kick doors down. I don't think we can do that, can we? Let's find out if we can kick. So if you want to know if there's a command to do something, you can push question mark, and it will bring up this search menu. And the search menu is super useful. So let's try kick. K-I-C-K. Nope, no kick. Well, unfortunate. So what are you going to do? How about smash? Can we smash the door down? There we go. Smash. To smash nearby terrain, it says you can push S. All right. I'm going to push escape, and now I'm going to push S. Smash where? Well, I want to smash in the direction of the door, so I'm going to push 6 on the numpad. Boom! Uh-oh, I lost another achievement. The conduct mouse in a china shop. Well, I don't know what that is, but I assume it's probably don't smash. Well, I lost that. So, okay, no big deal. You use your flippin' face to smash the closed wood door. Extreme. I don't know what that means. I guess it just means I'm trying to break something and I don't have a weapon with which to break it. So actually, it's probably not a great idea. But let's try it again. Smash. S. Same direction. Smash. Same direction. So if you do this often enough, if you repeat it, eventually you will break it. Or you won't, and it'll say you don't think you're doing damage. But I'm going to do it a ridiculous amount. Just S6, S6, S6 to go over it. I don't know if there's a way to repeat an action. There might be, but I just do it manually. So here we go. S6. There we go. Oh, no. Okay, well, there we go. See? You hear a crunch. So when you're breaking something, you'll hear a whump, as you can see in the lower right. When it's almost broken, it will crash, and then you can kind of see through it, but you still can't pass through it. Then you smash it more, and you'll hear the crunch. That means it's totally destroyed. Now it can pass through. Now light's showing through. There's no window, so there must be a hole in the ceiling. Now clearly there's a ladder going up. So I'm going to go up with the, what is it? Less than sign. Man, I'm not good at math stuff. Less than sign. So shift and push the less than sign. And hey, we're on the roof. We're on the roof of the building. Pretty cool. Let's zoom out. So as you can see, this gives us kind of a wide view. Let's push M and see if it like opened up any additional terrain. Okay, so you can see the map looks a bit different than it did when we looked at it on the ground. That's just because you're looking at it on a different Z level now. So we can take another look when we get down. What are these blue dots? Well, open air, because you're looking, imagine you're looking straight ahead. If you play Dwarf Fortress, this is probably pretty obvious to you. But just imagine you're looking straight ahead. What are you going to see? Open air, because you're looking at the exact same Z level. Okay, cool, great. So that's what the map looks like. I'm going to walk around, just look around a bit. What's that? Push G. Cigarette butt. Not super useful. You might be able to smoke, who knows, but I'm not going to be trying that. And then what do we have here? G. Well, G didn't show me anything, so I'm going to go back to using semicolon. Semicolon brings up this target where I can kind of see what everything is. What's this over here? It's a standing tank on a flat roof. And what's this right next to me? This is a mounted solar panel on a flat roof. I'm going to push escape to get out of this mode. Now you can jump down, I believe. You don't want to unless you have to. And believe me, there will be cases where you might want to consider it. It's happened to me before. But for now, we are still safe, thank goodness. So I'm going to go back downstairs by pushing greater than on the keyboard. All right. Now, unfortunately, this kind of drives me nuts. There's no easy way to seal this back up. It's broken now. You screwed it up. You push G, and you can see there's splintered wood, nail, and planks. So basically, screwed it up. But that's okay because how would a zombie even get in? The only entry and exit is through the roof there, so I guess we're okay. What is kind of cool is there's planks. So I'm going to pick up one plank. I'm going to push the number 1 and the letter D and then enter. Now, of course, I can't put it in my pocket, so I'm going to store it in my hands by pushing W to wield it. Okay, now my graphic has changed and I'm holding a giant plank. That's going to be a weapon for me that I can use. Now, if you look at on the right, on your status, you can see wielding plank, style, Eskrima. Now, if you remember, I picked Eskrima as my melee style. So the fact that it shows style Eskrima, that means this plank is compatible with my Eskrima style. So I'll get all the bonuses that would be associated with using Eskrima by using this plank. Okay, phew, looking good. Not hungry, not thirsty, not overweight, heat's comfortable. I think we're good. So what's next? Well, next I guess we venture out into the world. So I'm going to explain, before we open the door, something called safe mode. Now this is a really nice feature that they've included in this game that NetHack didn't have, as far as I know, because many a time have I held down a key and died before knowing what happened. So the game is turn-based. The world doesn't move until you move. And when you move, the whole world moves once. So if you push exclamation point, so shift 1 on your keyboard, you can turn safe mode on or off. By pushing it repeatedly, it'll turn on or off. If it's on, the game will automatically freeze you at the first sight of a monster or an animal. So that gives you maximum time to decide what you want to do. It's inconvenient because if you can see really far, then you'll stop every single time, and that kind of is rough. But if you turn it off, something could be upon you before you realize it, and that's no good either. Okay. Well, what time is it? It's 8:07 a.m. Let's open the door and see what we got.